Today, if you are watching, wherever you are, it's going to set off a conversation between you and the people closest to you. So, here we go. This show is about being a ride or die. You know what? You might know the idea of staying by the side of somebody you love no matter what, giving up everything for your kids, giving up everything for your family, giving up everything for love. It sounds admirable until it turns toxic. This new book, it's called Ride or Die. It's by critically acclaimed writer Shanita Hubbard, and it is already setting off a big debate. She went viral a few years ago when she said she would not date a man who had not gone to therapy. I even had to have her on the show. Here's that moment.
There's more to me than actually just the content that I typically write about for the New York Times. So I wrote this piece about, therapy and dating because I want to normalize therapy.
Now in her new book, Shanita warns that the idea of being ride or die for people we love, especially in romantic relationships, can be emotionally damaging. She wrote, "You never get back the energy and time you pour into a lopsided relationship." Shanita is no stranger to fueling hot-button conversations and topics. She's been published in the New York Times, Elle Magazine, Ebony, Essence. The list goes on and on. She's also an adjunct professor of sociology and a former therapist. Please welcome author Shanita Hubbard to the show. Thank you. I had the privilege of getting an early copy of this book over the summer, and I instantly had to email her and put my name on the back of the book. So as a quote for the book, it's exceptional. It's very brave, as I told you, and it's very real. So this notion of ride or die, when I said it earlier, everyone's like, yeah, because we've been trained to believe ride or die is where it's at. Now, people often associate it with hip hop because of the song, The Locks. We gave it a cool name, but the idea of death do us part, for better or worse, for good or bad, this has always been drilled, especially in the minds of women. And you said in this book, hold up. What brought you to that point?
I got sick of riding for folks until I died. It's actually really exhausting to give so much of yourself and then you have nothing left. Yeah. And what happens is when you lived and are perpetually riding out for everyone, you don't have time to assess what's not healthy in your own life. Yeah. You don't have time to build your own dreams and you're too busy fostering someone else's. You cast yourself in the role of the second best actress in your own movie.
Wow, the second best actress in your own movie. You take us on a journey in your book. You talk about a partner that you'd fallen in love with and you stayed by even when he was serving time in jail. And you talk about it in this way. You wrote, "I felt like it was what I was supposed to do for my man." And then you go on to say, "A lot of Black women are conditioned to show love by proving how much difficulty we can endure for our men." That was deep for you.
A lot of us have to really unpack the notion that we have to earn love, right? And if I could just stay by his side, it doesn't have to be as extreme as it was with me. I stayed because he got into some trouble that happened a long time before
you met him.
Right. Long before I met him.
That's what's so remarkable in the story. Shanita's on her way, you're rising, and people are looking at you as one of the brilliant stars in this industry. You meet someone, you enjoy his company, you fall in love. He reveals that he had a prior incident and that he was going to have to go to jail. You could have said, "I'm okay, I'm moving on."
I should have said.
You should have.
I should have chose me. In this particular case, and I know that, I'm a Black woman and existing in America, so it's almost impossible to not be impacted by incarceration by somehow. But what we don't talk enough about is how incarceration impacts Black women, right? We're more than just the people that hold up the men that are, locked up. A lot of times we are bearing a financial responsibility, emotional responsibility, and no one goes to prison and comes out the same.
Well, the thing that was so fascinating, and again, how you revealed it, you're this upwardly mobile woman, this career woman. By day, you're getting accolades. By night, you have someone calling you from a prison, mad at you, because you were not doing what they wanted you to do.
Anyway, and let's be clear, that was a very long time ago. I don't even recognize that woman. Right. I was
surprised too. I've known you a while. I've followed you. I was surprised. I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is not Shanita Hubbard that said no man not in therapy. But it started to make sense to me what you'd gone through.
Yeah, and that's actually why I have such clear boundaries now, because I understand what the life was like before that, right? When you don't define yourself and have these boundaries for yourself, somebody else will give you those boundaries.
Wow.
According to what works for them.
What did it take for you, though, to reach this point, to be bold enough? And this entire hour is about people who ride or die, not just in romantic relationships, but for our children and all these other people that we are the second best actress in our own movie for, as you put it. But what was it that led you then to write this book? What were you seeing as an alarm bell that was ringing and you needed to respond to it?
Well, one of the things when you're perpetually in a state of writing for, it doesn't even have to be as extreme as supporting an incarcerated loved one, right? But when you're that person always showing up at your job, you know when the atmosphere is toxic, but you're gonna be like, I can make it better. I'm gonna organize a retreat. I can do this. I'm gonna bring donuts, right? When you're so busy constantly being that person, you don't assess what's happening in your own life, right? And one of the things that it took me a long time to take note of, the most important relationship outside of one of myself was with my daughter, right? So I am hyper vigilant protective over her because I know what it is to exist in this world as an unprotected Black woman, right? And I never paid attention to how I internalized that very real notion. Problem was, like, as my daughter got older, she said something to me. She said, Mom, I feel like I can't tell you things because you just explode.
Yeah.
So I got so busy making sure that my child felt protected that I forgot to make sure she felt free.
Yeah. When we come back, you hit on something you talk about in the book, anger, and how it's processed and where it comes from and how we pass that along generationally without knowing to our children after the break. Welcome back. Still with us is the author of the new book, Ride or Die, a Feminist Manifesto for Black Women, and an adjunct professor of sociology, Shanita Hubbard. We're talking about people who refer to themselves sometimes as ride or die, or relationships, even if they don't have that title, where we know you're giving much more to others than you're giving to yourself. You wrote in the book about anger, and you said, some of us are angry Black women because we are sick of being erased, assaulted, unheard, unprotected. Some of us are not angry Black women. We're just hiding behind a shell from a world of pain that oftentimes develop right in our community. You've said in this book, you have to look in your own community, in your own house, and you even go into your generational family lineage where you started to see this ride or die mentality destroy the women around you.
Well, in terms of my family, what happens is I was raised by remarkable, incredibly resourceful, strong, brilliant Black woman, right? Starting with my grandmother. She had 8 children and our grandfather died suddenly. So now she's forced to mourn and comfort her children and go back into the workforce for like full time and be everything to everyone out of necessity, right? So then you have my mom who saw her mom doing that. And my mom was a single mom of 3 kids. And my mom was always really proud. She was I'm not gonna go on social service, no shade to anyone who's who are, but that's just my mom was like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna work 2 jobs. I'm gonna, show up for my kids at school. I'm gonna be there cleaning. I'm gonna be there helping with homework. I'm gonna make sure cooking. She just did the absolute most. So then for me, I internalized that as if that's the absolute standard for motherhood, right? It's almost like that felt like perfection to me to operate at that level. Even when I didn't have to operate that level, I would feel convicted if I didn't. Like I remember like one time I was like teaching probably like 3 classes a week, writing probably 3 articles a week, giving clinical consultation for this organization that contracted me to it. And you guys know I'm an involved mother. And then I remember one holiday season, I'm like looking for gifts at night so that I can wrap them. And I'm like, I can't find my daughter's gifts. And I'm looking in the closet. I'm like, it's wintertime. I'm like, I still got sundresses out. And I'm just like, my house is not messy, but just things are just unorganized. Right. So I said it's the middle of the night. It's just me there. My daughter's sleeping. And I was like, you know what? I should hire maids to come in and help me just organize. And I immediately felt so guilty and convicted. I talked myself out. I never saw my mother do that. Like, what kind of mother are you? Like, no one was there. I just convicted myself. Wow. Even though I had the resources to operate differently, because that became the standard that I would try to achieve to my own demise.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You talk about in the book, this resonated a lot. You said it can take a long time to recognize toxic generational patterns. It can take even longer to admit when you're the one keeping the cycle going. So you're this therapist. You did a lot of unpacking of your own life and own soul in this book. what is the goal of this? What do you want our TAM fam in the audience, no matter who you are, the people watching, what's the goal? What's the message that you want to send with this book?
I want people to think about how you are showing up in every area of your life. Are you the person fostering other people's dreams and you forgot your own? Are you the person making sure everyone else is fixed but you're broken? Are you the person riding out for other people but you're dying? Right? I want people to be honest with them. Like I showed my scars in the book so I can say that I'm not speaking from a place of perfection, right? I'm speaking from a place of this is where I was and this is what happened, but let's get here, right? Let's get free and let's get healed of that because you deserve that. You deserve to show up for you at your fullest capacity.
We're all a work in progress. And when you said earlier, when I was talking about that past relationship, you said, I am not that person now.
I don't want nobody call me from prison, get no idea. So I had to clear that up. My days, I ain't putting no money in nobody's books. I don't visit nobody. I ain't riding for you.
Who are you now? How do you now define that loyalty? Because we do all want someone who will show up for us when it's tough. So what is the next healthy step below the ride or die?
Requiring reciprocity. The thing about a ride or die is she's not even expecting reciprocity. She's just expected to do it, and maybe that's how later she'll receive love, right? So now there's no more lopsided relationships. I still show up fully for not just for myself, but for my friends, but I'm selective about who I show up fully for. I show up fully for the people that's earned that role in my life.
You show up for the people who've earned that.
I show up for the people that has earned that, and we do that for each other.